The Immortal John Hancock here, and today I'm taking a look at the Sega CD. While the Sega CD's library was fairly small, the add-on to the Sega Genesis was often overlooked. In this video, I'm taking a look at some of these overlooked games and revisiting them and sharing some gameplay footage with you. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this video. Wonder Dog was one of the first Sega CD games ever made, and it's a really cute platformer. It often is overlooked because it was an early release and it didn't really demonstrate all the capabilities of the Sega CD, but I really like this cute platformer. You know, everything from the sound to the graphics. This is a feel-good game and there's a lot to it. There's many stages and zones in this game, lots of bonus areas. I found myself coming back to this, playing it over and over again, and I really this is definitely the time to play a game like this. It's a feel-good game. And so there's a lot of mid and end bosses in the zones. I found this game a lot of fun to play. Now, when you shoot out the stars, there's a weird arc to them, and so you have to get used to the distance and the arc of shooting out your stars to kill enemies. But I found there was a lot of power-ups in this game. There's a invincible tornado you can become. There's a lot of hidden areas, and there's gems you can pick up for points, and if you collect 100 bones you can gain a extra life. And so I found this was a good balance between fairly easy to pick up and play, and they were fairly generous on save points and not. But yeah, the end bosses are pretty awesome, and this is definitely a good platformer to revisit. Up next is Android Assault: The Revenge of Bari-Arm, also known as Bari-Arm. This is a side-scrolling shooter that is often overlooked by more successful games in the genre. But I enjoyed this side-scrolling shooter. I'm a big fan of R-Type, and this definitely has the feel of R-Type. It's not as good, but I enjoyed this game quite a bit. And so after the introduction, the animated sequence, you get to experience a decent side-scrolling shooter, fairly challenging. It's got 7 stages with a rockin' soundtrack. You also can control the speed of your ship, and you will have to adjust your speed fast and slow in the game for various stages. There's 4 main upgrades to weapons. There's also transformer modules in which you can grab them and transform your ship into a robot. I really like that as well. There's also a charge beam, kind of taking that as a nod from R-Type, in which you can charge up your shot, and depending on what weapon you have, it looks different. There's awesome bosses at the end of each stage. On a side note, there was a place in Redding, California that I could rent and play this per hour, and I did. It was one of the first games I played on the Sega CD and loved it. AH3 Thunderstrike is often an overlooked game for the Sega CD. I was a big fan of the Desert Strike series, and the best way to describe this game is if a Desert Strike game went 3D. And so you go around, there's 10 various levels around the world. You just take your secret H3 Thunderstrike and blow stuff up. The game has a rockin' soundtrack, and what I like about this game is it's not too sim. I'm not a big fan of sim games. You may be. This has more of an arcadey feel. I do like the graphics. It is fairly easy to control, and the levels are pretty straightforward. You just find the target typically and blow it up. And there's lots of things to blow up in each level. The map is fairly easy to navigate, as well as the controls. I found this to be a pretty straightforward game, and if you're a fan of action-oriented 3D style games, now the graphics are dated a little bit, but I found it has an appeal to it. Definitely check this game out. Each level has a different mission. There's even a night level here, which I really enjoyed. Also, if you're a collector and looking for a physical copy, this is one of the cheaper ones I'm showing today, and it's nice to know that there are still some affordable and good playing Sega CD games out there. Another game made exclusively for the Sega CD is Battle Core. This was a fairly straightforward mech game in which you control a BAM, known as a bipedal attack machine. You have 3 different personalities that you can control in your mech, all with different strengths and weaknesses. The game uses sprites to recreate a 3D environment. I did like the graphics. I definitely found myself getting into the game. There are 13 stages, and this one's tough. You can't just blow your way through each stage. You have to be strategic. There's different weapons. There's various things, machine gun, flamethrower, rockets. You can adjust your gun up and down. There's a map, and I found myself coming back to this, even though it was fairly difficult. This is a game, if you like mech games, and this one might be one you've overlooked. But I thought it was a decent game. It is exclusive for the Sega CD. I put this one in the same category as Thunderstrike, in which if you are looking to experience mid-90s technology and going back and playing some early 3D classics, this is a good game. Now, keep in mind, first level is fairly difficult, and you are going to die a lot. So I recommend playing this one for quite a bit to get used to the controls and strategy. Heart of the Alien, Out of This World 1 and 2 is a great combination and complete story of Out of This World. And what makes this unique is it includes Heart of the Alien, but it also includes the amazing Out of This World. Now, Out of This World was ported to many other things, and if you haven't played it, it's got really unique gameplay style. It's got kind of like a cinema representation, but it's very, very difficult. I want to note that you will die quite a bit in this game, but it's a lot of fun. The password feature offered in this version is only 4 letters, which is really cool. It's easy to advance to another stage if you get frustrated with playing a portion of the game over and over again. But I really like it. Timeless classic. But really the strength of this disc combination is Heart of the Alien, which was exclusive to North America. Now, Heart of the Alien is the sequel to Out of This World, in which you control Buddy, the alien who helps Lester in the first game. Now, it's not as good. Now, this game has some issues. Most notably, it is more difficult than the original game, which a lot of people complain about. But if you like the gameplay style as games such as Another World or Flashback, you are going to like this game. I do recommend giving it a try. Same thing, it's got a password feature, so if you get frustrated with a stage, you can just input another stage level and continue. Now, there are fans of Dark Wizard, but there's a lot of people that still don't know about this amazing strategy RPG exclusively for the Sega CD. Amazing game. It's over 300 hours of gameplay. It is intimidating. You can control one of 4 characters in which you have to reconquer the land from Villainese. And so it's got some intros that are amazing, kind of anime style. It is a very in-depth game. If you are like many and are at home looking for a meaty game to get into, this is a perfect recommendation. Well over hundreds of hours of gameplay. This is a fantastic game to get into for the Sega CD. So you control one of 4 main characters, each have different abilities and armies. What's really cool is you can hire humans and summon monsters to add to your army. Over time, these class up and change their abilities. There's lots of settings in the game as well in which you can control how long battles are, but the battles are fairly long. You can discover towns and gather information and add additional people to your army. Battles can be pretty fierce. They can last a long time. There is ways where you can cut down battles just to show text only. If you're a fan of games like Fire Emblem, look for this game, Dark Wizard. So there you have it. Those are some of the games I recommend you to go back and revisit that many have forgotten. So what did you think of the games I showed today? What are your favorites? Do you have other recommendations? Comment below, as I would love to hear from you. I have had a lot of fun going back and playing some games in my libraries. It has been a lot of fun sharing these games with you. As always, I wish you nothing but safety, be well, and hunker down, and we can get through this together. Thank you so much for the ongoing positive support. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you take care.